Before we dive right into the story, please subscribe to this channel for daily stories and also drop a comment for us. Thank you. Cassie Adeyemi always thought silk would feel weightless, like a whisper of fabric floating against the skin. Instead, the couture gown cinched her ribs so tightly she could barely breathe. Somewhere behind her, cathedral bells clanged a triumphant peal, echoing down the marble nave and out into the courtyard where guests clustered in jewel-bright assay oak and Italian linen. Cassie couldn't move. Every loop of lace digging into her collarbone reminded her why she was here. Legacy, the word her mother loved more than daughter. "If you love this family, you'll put it on," Mama had said at dawn, fingers fastening the corset while Cassie stared into a mirror fogged by tears. Now, outside St. Aurelia's Cathedral, Lagos's oldest, grandest church, Cassie gripped a bouquet of ivory orchids. Their fragrance was cloying, sweet like lies. She watched black cars rolling up one after another, disgorging dignitaries, oil magnates, Nollywood A-listers. Paparazzi flashes burst against stained glass. Yet each spark of light felt like a camera flash inside her skull, exposing every fear she'd buried. A flutter of taffeta announced her mother, Adana Adeyemi, sweeping across the portico in a crimson wrapper, jewel perched like a crown. Head high, chin forward, Mama hissed, pressing a kiss onto Cassie's cheek. A kiss that felt like the seal on a prison letter. Remember what's at stake. What was at stake? Their fortune. Their seat on the Megacorp board. Or the simple truth that the Adeyemis had traded their only child's freedom for a merger no lawyer could have drafted better. Cassie swallowed, tasting metal. "I haven't even met him." "The whole point," Mama replied, "is that you'll never have to meet one again." A hush rippled through the courtyard as the car bearing the groom glided to the cab. Metallic gray, windows tinted. Cassie's pulse hammered. For a wild second she imagined sprinting down the cathedral steps, tearing the hem of this monstrous dress as she vaulted a hedge and vanished into the bustle of Lagos Island. But every fairytale rebel eventually reaches a gate too high, a crowd too thick. Cassie's gate was guilt. She remembered Papa's tired eyes, the new heart meds, the hospital bills stacking like dominoes. She remembered the factory workers whose jobs depended on the merger her marriage would seal. "Why should strangers pay for her courage? Why should I pay for their security?" whispered another voice. The organ roared to life. Inside, gold candelabra flickered, 100 faces tanned, 1,000 pearls caught candlelight. Cassie's feet carried her forward. She barely felt the mosaic tiles under her heels. Choir voices lifted, singing a hymn about mercy that felt like mockery. Mid-aisle, she lifted her veil just an inch to steal a glance at the altar. He stood there, tall, shoulders squared beneath a bespoke charcoal tux. His face was half obscured by light pouring through the rose window, but she caught a silhouette, angular jaw, slightly tousled hair, posture of someone used to commanding rooms. Alec what? She couldn't even recall his surname, just the tabloids, mysterious tech heir, reclusive billionaire, cold code prodigy. When she reached the altar, Father Augustine intoned ancient words. Cassie's responses came out brittle, like chalk snapping. "Do you, Cassandra Adana Adeyemi, take?" Alec's name thundered overhead. Cassie nodded, voice lost in the cathedral rafters. She felt the heat of his palm as he took her hand, surprisingly warm for a man reporters called silicon-blooded. She saw his cufflinks, tiny circuits etched onto platinum. Then came the veil. He lifted it. Their eyes met for the first time. His was sadder than she expected, storm gray with crescents of exhaustion beneath. Yet when he smiled, the sadness didn't vanish. It deepened, like a well too old to run dry. He whispered, barely audible, "I'm sorry." "Why?" Cassie mouthed. But Father Augustine declared, "You may kiss the bride." The first kiss of her life landed on trembling lips. Camera shutters erupted. The choir soared. Cassie felt nothing, no electricity, no butterflies, only the strange intimacy of a stranger's breath and the irreversible click of history tilting on new hinges. Applause chased them down the aisle. Outside, drones buzzed overhead, live-streaming #LegacyWedding 2025 to millions. Guests flooded the reception lawn, drink trays glinting. A string quartet launched into high-life remixes. Cassie kept walking, past the gift table brimming with envelopes, past paparazzi barking her name, past Mama's outstretched hand. She reached a row of trash bins lined for catering waste. With a single snap, she wrenched the bouquet from its ribbon and dumped it amid empty Moet bottles. Gasps behind her. Clicks, whispers, scandalized aunts. She turned. Alex stood yards away, watching, lips parted. For an instant Cassie thought she saw relief flicker in his eyes, as if a rebellion mirrored something inside him. But he said nothing. A gust of seaside wind whipped her veil, and in that swirl of lace Cassie ran, through ornamental hedges, across gravel that bit her soles, out to the parking court where valets smoked behind columns. Breathless, she kicked off crystal heels and sank onto cool stone. First kiss, first wedding, first meltdown, she muttered. Perfect resume, Cassie. Tears blurred the night, but she scrubbed them away before they could fall. From the shadows, shoes crunched gravel. Rosa. Stout, soft-voiced, hair-streaked silver. The nanny who had sung lullabies when Cassie was teething and whispered feminist manifestos when Cassie was 13. Rosa draped a shawl over the gown's low back. Tell me who I must fight. Cassie half laughed, half sobbed. Everyone. Rosa sat beside her. Then we'll train. For a moment the wedding chaos faded. Distant music thumped. Fireworks hissed above palm trees. But here on the steps, a young woman and an aging caretaker caught their breath in fragile quiet. I don't belong to them, Cassie said. You belong to you, Rosa corrected. The question is how you claim it. Behind them, Uncle Kalu's laugh boomed. Mama's voice rose sharp. Papa's cough rattled. The night marched on without mercy. Rain drifted over Lagos at dawn. Fine, misty drizzle that softened street noise and turned headlights into halos. Cassie hadn't slept. She sat in her childhood bedroom, still in the gown, listening to the house breathe, pipes groaning, generators humming. On her vanity lay every award she'd earned, debate trophies, coding hackathon medals, a framed scholarship letter. Proof she'd built a future on merit. Yet none of it had shielded her. A timid knock. The door opened. Mema, immaculate in silk pajamas. We'll load the car in an hour, she announced, eyes skimming the wreckage, makeup wipes, torn tulle. Cassie's lipstick scrolled on the mirror. My body is not collateral. Mema's lips thinned. Clean yourself up. Cassie clenched fistfuls of skate. I'm 18. I should be at University of Cape Town today. Orientation week. Cape Town will survive without you, Mema said. Our holdings won't. And my dreams. Your dreams, Mema exhaled, must mature. Cassie hurled a hairbrush. It clattered off the vanity. Mema didn't flinch. She crossed the room, knelt, and lifted Cassie's chin. Listen, child. Luxury is leverage. Marry it, wield it, then convert it. Tonight you spat out gold. Tomorrow you may choke on lead. Tears burned Cassie's lashes, but she refused to blink. You sold me for a board seat. Sold. Mema echoed, incredulous. We elevated you. That man could have any heiress in Abuja, Dubai, London, yet he accepted you sight unseen. Do you know what that says? That women are commodities. Mema released her chin. It says you're worth choosing. She stood, voice softening only a fraction. We leave in 1 hour. Don't make this harder. The convoy arrived precisely at 9. 2 SUVs bristling with bodyguards, 1 vintage Mercedes for Rosa and Cassie. Papa shuffled out in slippers, unshaven, eyes watery from last night's whiskey. Your husband is a decent man, he rasped. Treat him with courtesy. Cassie searched his face for mischief, for a wink that meant run while you can, daughter, but found only resignation. She hugged him. He winced at her corset's boning jabbing his ribs. Drink water, she whispered. Take your meds on time. He nodded, and that was the goodbye. The Mercedes door closed on her childhood. Lekki Peninsula opened like a billionaire's paradise, white sand beaches, glass condos, helipads. Alex's mansion perched on an ocean bluff, all black stone and sweeping terraces. Security gates scanned license plates. Gardeners clipped bougainvillea into precise arcs. Cass's heart rattled as the car glided up the driveway. She spotted staff in starched uniforms lining the steps, chefs, valets, a butler with gloves so white they glowed. And in the center, Alec. No tie today, just a crisp dress shirt, sleeves folded to reveal forearms lean and sun-kissed. He looked more human in daylight, less algorithm, more man. When Cassie emerged, he inclined his head. Welcome home, Cassandra. He spoke her name like testing a melody. She said nothing. Rosa bustled out behind her, lugging 2 suitcases. The butler hurried to intercept, but Rosa waved him off. My hands, my cargo. Alex's gaze flicked to Rosa, reading loyalty in his stance. He inclined once more. My household is better for an ally of Madame Rosa. Mrs. Rosa corrected. My husband rests in heaven, but the title rests with me. Alex's lips curved, the faintest smile. Mrs. Rosa, then. Cassie almost softened, watching that exchange. Almost. They crossed the foyer. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed an infinity pool merging with the Atlantic. Onyx columns soared to a mezzanine lined with antique maps. The library whispered to Cassie, rows upon rows of first editions behind glass. But pride straightened his spine. I won't be seduced by pretty shells. Alec, she reminded herself, guided them to adjoining suites. Cassie's room faced the sea, with French doors opening onto a private balcony where whales sometimes breached, he said. He gestured toward a panel of buttons that controlled blackout shades, ambient lighting, even scent diffusers. If you need anything. I need a divorce, Cassie blurted. Silence. Rain tapped the glass. Alec's shoulders tensed, but he surprised her with a nod. Understood. I won't stop you. But the board favors stability. Filing now would. Crush the stock price, she finished bitterly. Crush my mother, he corrected. She retired last month. All her savings in company shares. A sudden dip would halve her pension. Cassie stared. Was that leverage or honesty? Alec's voice softened. Give me 6 months. Enough to transition. After that, if you still want freedom, I'll sign whatever you hand me. 6 months in a cage is still imprisonment. This mansion is hardly a cage. It is if the door was never my choice. He rubbed his jaw, gray eyes flicking to the rain. I'll clear my schedule. We can draft terms tonight. Cassie opened her mouth, but Rosa laid a gentle hand on her arm. Rest first, the older woman advised. Tire yourself with anger later. Alec inclined again, left the room, closing the door soft as a sigh. Cassie sagged onto a chaise, corset creaking. Rosa unfastened laces until Cassie could finally inhale a full breath. Sea air drifted through balcony doors, salty, electrified by storm clouds. Men like that, Rosa murmured, are raised to barter with the world. You must learn to bargain too. I want to live, not bargain. Then live smart. Keep your guard, but keep your eyes open wider. Cassie scowled. Eyes are open. Open wider, Rosa repeated, adjusting pillows. Find the cracks. Even marble has them. Outside, thunder rolled. Hours later, bathed and changed into cotton pajamas, Cassie padded down a hushed corridor, drawn by the scent of baking bread. She found a gourmet kitchen, chrome appliances, copper pans, and at its center Talia, the maid she glimpsed earlier, twirling dough with practiced grace. Talia's eyes flashed, amber flecks and dark irises. Hungry, Mrs. Lawson, she teased, emphasizing Mrs. in a tone too sweet. That's not my surname, Cassie said flatly. Call me Cassie. Talia's lips curved. Cassie, then. Alec likes cinnamon rolls at dawn. I'm prepping dough. For tomorrow. For every tomorrow, Talia said, sliding trays into the proofer. A man of habits. Cassie glanced around. Where is he now? Jim, most likely. He boxes when he's upset. Talia's gaze dipped meaningfully to Cassie's bare ring finger. Bridesmaids had forgotten to hand over the wedding band after Cassie fled. You upset him. I upset everyone, Cassie muttered. Talia laughed, low and musical. I find that exhilarating. She stepped closer, a whisper of vanilla and spice. May I offer advice, Cassie? If you wish to punish Alec, become indispensable. Then withhold your brilliance. Cassie tilted her head. And you speak from experience. Talia's lashes fluttered. Let's say I study powerful men. Something about that answer made Cassie's skin tighten. She remembered Rosa's warning about snakes. I'll stick to studying my own reflection, Cassie replied, retreating. It bites less. She returned to her suite to find a box on the bed. No card. Inside lay a slim gold band, her wedding ring. On the inner edge, an engraving, We will write our own vows, when you're ready. Hey. Cassie closed the lid. She couldn't decide whether to scream or weep or laugh. Instead she crawled beneath the duvet, clutching a pillow until exhaustion overpowered rebellion. Midnight. Thunder cracked, dragging Cassie from a dream where she ran barefoot along a cliff. She rose, thirst burning her throat, and slipped into the hallway. The mansion slept. Sconces glowed low, marble floors cool under her soles. Voices drifted from a room near the study. Cassie paused by the half-open door. Inside, Alex stood before a wall of monitors, security feeds, stock tickers, code scrolling green on black. Beside him, Talia hovered with a towel draped over her arm. Delays in Singapore node, Alex said, massaging his temples. I can reset servers if you'd like, Talia offered, stepping in comfortably close. I've got it, Alex replied, typing rapidly. Thank you, Talia. Cassie's fists clenched. She wasn't jealous. She was furious, her supposed husband cornered in his own home by an employee with ulterior motives. But more infuriating was the flicker of guilt that she'd left him to fend for himself. She retreated, unseen, heart hammering. Back in bed, she stared at the ceiling, listening to rain drumming the roof. She thought of servers in Singapore, of Talia's perfume, of 6 months ticking like a bomb. She didn't know when she drifted into sleep, but her last coherent thought was Rosa's phrase, eyes open wider. Tomorrow, she decided, she'd pry them open with force if necessary. The first sunrise in Alex's mansion arrived without ceremony, just a pale ribbon of light slipping through half-drawn curtains and resting on Cassie's eyelids. For a heartbeat she forgot everything, the wedding, the cameras, the legal chain she now wore in place of a ring. Then thunder from the Atlantic broke on hidden rocks, and memory flooded back. She hadn't even unpacked. 2 luxury trunks, each embossed with the Adeyemi crest, squatted like guard dogs at the foot of her bed. Cassie glared at them. The crest felt like a brand burned into calfskin. Blood may be thicker than water, she thought, but apparently it's thin enough to leak through a contract. A soft knock. Rosa entered holding a silver tray, papaya slices, lime pepper dust, and a steaming cup of cocoa. Breakfast, she announced. Combat requires fuel. Combat. Cassie rasped. Your mother is on the phone downstairs. Rosa delivered the line the way a medic delivers bad news. She said it's urgent and brief. Cassie almost refused. Then anger pulsed. Her parents owed her answers. She threw on jeans and a hoodie, feet bare, and followed Rosa through corridors where portraits of long-dead Lawsons gazed down with oil-painted ote. The call waited on a polished console table in the foyer. An antique landline, crystal handset glittering like ice. Cassie pressed it to her. Mama. Static crackled. Then Adana Adeyemi's voice slipped through, silk over steel. I see you made it safely. You saw. Cassie echoed. Have drones replaced affection now? A pause. Let's not dramatize. I've arranged 2 press statements, one from our side, one from the Lawsons. They go live at noon. The narrative is childhood sweethearts reunited. I met the man yesterday, Cassie hissed. And now you're married. Speed sells. Romance sells. The market's open in 3 hours. We need sentimentality to cushion volatility. Cassie paced, twisting the phone cord. You care more about graphs than your daughter's sentience. Graphs keep your father alive, Adana snapped. ICU beds aren't paid with fairy dust. The blow landed. Cassie felt her spine sag then stiffen. Then at least admit I've become your medical insurance policy. Another pause, longer, heavier. I will admit only this. Legacy is heavier than love, Cassandra. You'll understand when you're a mother. I'll never be your kind of mother. Then pray your kind survives. Adana exhaled. Goodbye, daughter. Be gracious. The world is watching. Click. Silence roared in Cassie's ears. She slammed the phone down so hard the crystal handset rang like a crack bell. Rosa stood by the staircase, hands folded. You wanted truth. You heard it. Cassie wiped angry tears. It still stings. Truth disinfects, Rosa said. Pain is part of the cleaning. Cassie spent the morning roaming the mansion, desperate to bleed off rage. Motion sensors lit hallways before her, as though the building anticipated every step. In the conservatory, floor panels read her weight and triggered soft Afrobeats from hidden speakers. In the gym, cardio machines woke at her proximity. LED displays scrolling welcome. Cassie even though she'd never registered a profile. The house is watching me, she thought, uneasy. She wandered into the garage, cavernous as an aircraft hangar. Sleek vehicles, electric sedans, a midnight blue roadster, one vintage VW Beetle, sat angled like sculptures. A motorcycle with racing mods leaned on its kickstand. Keys dangled on a pegboard. Freedom glimmered. Cassie envisioned roaring down Lekki Eep Expressway, hoodie whipping in the wind, leaving obligations in the dust. She reached for the motorcycle key but froze at the sound of deliberate footsteps. Alec. He wore charcoal joggers, gloves in one hand, sweat darkening his collar. Planning a getaway. Planning a ride, she said. Motorcycles don't require spousal consent. He leaned on a Tesla, breathing hard from a workout. Legally no, physically maybe. He gestured to the bike seat height. Too tall for someone who'd never ridden. I'd prefer you didn't join the ICU your dowry is supposed to keep my shareholders out of. The dig pricked. I learned to ride at 14, she lied. Throttle's on the right, he said. Show me. She grabbed the grip and twisted it the wrong way. The bike jerked forward, kickstand screeching across concrete. Alec lunged, steadying 800 pounds of machine with one muscular arm. The headlights flared to life, throwing them into stark silhouette, the runaway bride and the man who caught her. Cassie swallowed mortification. Fine. Teach me. Then I won't crash. His brows rose. You're staying. I'm learning. Big difference. Somewhere between challenge and admiration, a smile tugged his mouth. Suit up. Helmet's inside the top case. 10 minutes later, Cassie straddled the idling bike at the head of the private drive. Helmet padding muffled her heartbeat. Sea air tasted metallic through the visor. Alex stood beside her, one hand on the throttle, explaining friction zone and counterstay. Their proximity unnerved her more than the machine. A bead of sweat slipped down his neck. She fought the impulse to trace it with a finger. Eager to throttle, he asked. Eager to outrun everyone's expectations. He studied her, gray eyes unreadable. Give it light gas. Release the clutch slowly. Feel the bite. She exhaled and eased forward. The motorcycle lurched, stalling, then glided as she found balance. Wind toward her hoodie, adrenaline surging. At the gate she braked, wheels skidding a foot. Alec jogged up, breath puffing. Not terrible. Again, she said. They practiced until gulls wheeled overhead and sun climbed to zenith. Each pass tightened her control, loosened her anger. Speed rearranged grief molecules into something almost like joy. Finally she dismounted, legs shaking. Alec handed her a bottle of coconut water. What debt do you owe them? She blurted, before fear could censor curiosity. He screwed the cap. Who? My parents. You're bored. Whoever forced you to marry a stranger? Alec watched clouds gather over the Atlantic. Same currency as yours, family. Debt or blackmail? Both. He wiped his brow. But the exact shape, another time. Frustration flared, but she bit it down. They weren't allies yet. Only two prisoners wearing different kinds of cuffs. A guard appeared, murmuring about a conference call starting in 10. Alec nodded, turning toward the mansion. Thank you, Cassie said, surprising herself. He paused. For what? Not calling me incompetent. She smirked. Just mildly suicidal. His laugh, low, genuine, vibrated the humid air. Then he was gone. Late afternoon, Cassie opened her phone hoping for messages of comfort. Instead, a single video dominated every feed. A glossy montage splicing childhood photos of Cassie and Alec, fake via AI, hugging at age 6, attending prom at 17, weeping at an airport reunion. Headlines shrieked childhood sweethearts wed in secret ceremony. Her parents doing, no doubt. She scrolled comments, goals. Fairytale. Scripted, but I'm here for it. Likes soared past 1 million. Rage strangled her. She dialed her mother, ready to unleash fury. A robotic voice answered, this number is no longer in service. She tried Papa. Same message. Next their personal assistants, blocked. Her entire bloodline had ghosted her. Cass's knees wobbled. She sank onto a window seat facing crashing waves. Rosa found her there. They cut contact. Cassie nodded, throat tight. Rosa pressed braided fingers to Cassie's temples, like combat medics checking a pulse. Listen to me. Kinship is geography of the heart. Some regions you must demolish before you rebuild. But you are architect, not casualty. Cassie inhaled shakily. Easy to say. Hard to live. But look outside. Rosa pointed to a distant tanker crossing the horizon. That vessel carries crude, yes? But inside every barrel is potential, plastic, medicine, energy. What looks like burden can power entire continents. We're talking about family, not fossil fuel. The analogy stands, Rosa insisted. Refined pain, Cassie. Or bane in it. Alec rang her sweet intercom at 7. Family dinner, he announced. Just you and me. No staff. He sounded weary, as though bracing for shrapnel. Cassie debated refusing. But Rosa's words echoed, refined pain. She changed into a simple sundress, pinned hair up, and descended. The dining room held a single long teak table under a chandelier of blown glass shells. Most nights, Alec dined at the head surrounded by executives or politicians, but tonight the far end was set for 2. Candles flickered in hurricane lanterns, throwing wavering shadows. He stood as she approached, pulled out her chair. Old-world manners. She sat stiffly. A chef appeared only to pour wine and uncover silver domes, jollof pilaf, grilled plantain, pan-roasted grouper. Then he vanished behind swinging doors. They ate in silence at first. Cassie toyed with a fork, finally asking, why no staff? Cameras in here, he said, nodding at an orb in the chandelier. Less risk of leaks if nobody hears us. She swallowed. So talk. He set down cutlery. My father arranged this marriage 6 months before he died. His shares were in a trust. They would transfer to me only after I produced proof of domestic stability. A wife. Cassie frowned. You could date anyone. Why the auction? Because father feared scandal. He wanted a respectable wife from a family as image-obsessed as his. The Adeyemis rose to the top of the vetting algorithm. Algorithm, she echoed, disgusted. You date a mine for a spouse. He winced. I'm not proud. I pushed back. But father's legal team made it ironclad. My mother's pension and the entire Workers' Foundation are dividends from those shares. No shares, no funding. And you couldn't risk that. Could you? He asked quietly. Cassie stared at candlelight pooling in her wine. She thought of Papa's heart pumps, factory workers, Rosa's widow pension. Guilt-coiled. Alec continued. When I saw your photo, I expected a spoiled heiress. Then you dumped your bouquet in a trash bin on livestream. The bard panicked. I felt hope. He almost smiled. Anyone brave enough to sabotage her own wedding might help me sabotage this system. They cut me off, Cassie whispered. Blocked every line. I'm sorry. Her throat tightened. You at least have a mother. She has early Parkinson's, he said. Shares fund her treatment. I'm one supply chain error away from losing her too. Anger melted, replaced by unexpected kinship. So, he concluded, I propose a truce. 6 months, joint effort, we secure our family's futures, then exit clean. You walk free with severance, scholarship fund, whatever you need. I keep the shares. Deal. Cassie opened her mouth, but a crash cut her off. The kitchen doors burst open. Talia stumbled in, cheeks flushed, tray of dessert toppling. Molten chocolate splashed, plate shattered. Forgive me, sir, she cried, kneeling to gather shards. I slipped. Alec rose to help, but Cassie beat him there, gripping Talia's wrist. Go, she said. We'll manage. Talia's eyes flicked, fear or calculation. Then she fled. As Cassie wiped chocolate off marble, Alec crouched beside her. He smelled of cedar soap and sea salt. So, he prompted softly. She met his eyes. Truce, she agreed. But one condition. She lowered her voice. No secrets. We share intel. We protect each other. Transparent marriage of convenience. Transparent, he echoed, offering a pinky for a childish pact. Cassie hooked hers around it. Deal. In that candlelit wreckage of dessert, they sealed a contract no parent had drafted, and for the first time since the cathedral, Cassie's heart thudded not from fear but possibility. By morning the mansion buzzed like a beehive. Word of Cassie's bouquet rebellion had inflamed gossip sites. Paparazzi camped outside the gates, drones hovering. Yet inside, housekeeping hummed along, floors buffed, orchids swapped for fresher blooms, cinnamon rolls perfuming hallways. Cassie found Rosa in the courtyard herb garden at dawn, pruning basil with military precision. Insomnia? Rosa asked without looking up. Strategizing, Cassie said, settling on a stone bench. Alec and I struck a truce. We'll fake bliss, secure his mother's pension, then annul. Rosa clipped another stem. Better to fake respect than bliss. Bliss demands smiles, respect demands boundaries. Cassie exhaled. I knew you'd tweak my plan. Plans are fabric, Rosa said, stitched stronger with old thread. She tucked basil into a basket. First step, understand your battlefield. You mean the staff. And the shareholders, Rosa corrected. But staff first. Nieces gossip faster than investors. Together they crafted a chart at the breakfast nook, color-coding alliances on sticky notes. Mr. Diallo, head butler, neutral, loyal to professionalism. Chef Mayowa, friendly, diabetic, bribes one with sugar-free chocolate. Gardener twins, Ife and Ada, chatty TikTok addicts, potential leak risk. Talia, danger zone, aspirations unknown. Rosa pinned the final note, sighing. One snake spoils a garden. Cassie eyed Talia's name. Then let's handle pest control. Late morning, Alec texted, Can I show you something? Coordinates followed. Cassie traced them to a wing she'd not explored. Carved mahogany doors parted to reveal a two-story library. Spiral stairs, rolling ladders, skylight throwing diamonds of sun across leather spines. A reading nook overlooked crashing waves. An antique scent, paper, cedar, dust motes, wrapped her like a blanket. Alec waited mid-aisle, thumbs tucked into pockets. I noticed your Goodreads list, he said. You logged 372 romance novels last year. She flushed. Guilty. So I acquired first editions of your top 30. He pointed to a shelf where gilded titles gleamed. Purple Hibiscus, Ajoa's Promise, The Rivers Between. Cassie stepped closer, fingertips trembling. These are impossible to find. I built a crawler script to hunt auctions overnight, he admitted, sheepish. Wanted to prove I'm not just code and cash. Emotion thickened her throat. Gifts from her parents were always statements, cars, jewels, never something that listened. Yet she chastised herself. This was still a strategic gesture. He needed her compliance. Still, the novels whispered comfort. She slid one free, Dust and Honeysuckle, and inhaled its vanilla pages. Memories of dorm nights under covers, flashlight reading, resisting tears. Thank you, she said softly. Their eyes met. Electricity twanged so sharp she stepped back, scattering dust motes. Careful, Alec murmured. These books are older than both of us combined. And more stable than our marriage. He half smiled. Stability can be built. They stood awkwardly until a voice echoed from the hall. Say. Mr. Diallo. Emergency board call. SEC is circling about merger rumors. Alec swore under breath. Time to frontline. He pivoted toward the door but paused. Pick any you like. The nook's yours. As he left, Cassie traced titles, heart tugging between skepticism and warmth. That afternoon, Cassie carried a stack of novels to her balcony. Passing the laundry atrium, she overheard hushed voices. She thinks she owns the place, Talia whispered. Another maid giggled. She does, legally. Paper rings, Talia scoffed. Let's see how long until those divorce lawyers arrive. Then I'll be here to comfort. Footsteps scattered when Cassie stepped in, spine straight as a rapier. Comfort who? She asked. Talia turned, feigning surprise. Madam, we were discussing linens. Cassie set her books on a table, eyes cold. Linens don't gloat about divorces. She moved closer, lowering her voice. Your ambition is showing. Tuck it in. Talia's smile thinned. Ambition keeps me fed. Overconfidence causes indigestion, Rosa interjected, appearing from nowhere, brandishing a basket of folded towels. Mind your portions. Talia's nostrils flared, but she curtsied and retreated. Cassie exhaled. She'll sabotage me. Only if you fear sabotage, Rosa said. Lionesses don't fret about jackals. Cassie lifted the novels. Then teach me to roar. Rosa's eyes twinkled. Lesson 1. Control your narrative. Speak before others speak for you. That night Cassie launched an Instagram live from the library nook. Candles flickered behind her. The Atlantic boomed outside the window. She addressed 3.2 million curious followers. Hi world. Rumors swell like Lagos traffic. So here's truth. I married Alec Lawson. Yes. Not childhood sweethearts, but new partners in something rarer than romance, mutual respect. We're building it day by day. Whatever we become, we decide. Not tabloids, not corporations. Now, enjoy your evening. I'm off to read a book older than social media. She ended the stream, pulse jackhammering, then posted a photo. Bare feet on antique parquet. Novel on lap. Caption. Chapter 1 of many. Within minutes, comments exploded. Queen energy. Rewrite your fairy tale. Book club win. Likes passed 750K before midnight. Rosa texted a single emoji, lion. Later Cassie lay in bed reading when the intercom buzzed. Alec. Library. Emergency. She hurried barefoot, arriving to find him pacing. Jacket discarded. Tie askew. Board leaked a proxy vote. He said. Activist investors want me replaced unless share price rebounds in 30 days. We don't even have 6 months, she realized. Clock's ticking faster. He stopped pacing. We need to show domestic stability now, not next quarter. Cass's brain raced. Public charity gala. Showcase the Lawson Foundation. Scheduled in 3 weeks. Too late. Sec may move sooner. Then we stage something bigger, intimate but viral. Ideas sparked. A joint podcast. Behind the scenes of an arranged marriage? Raw honesty sells. Honesty might also trigger lawsuits, he counted. Not if we frame it as leadership transparency. She grabbed a whiteboard marker left by some programmer and sketched boxes. Problem vulnerability resolution. We confess fear. Commit to growth. Invite audience to witness. People invest in journeys. Alec watched her, amazed. You've done PR. Debate club. Crisis rounds. A grin flashed. Cassandra Adeyemi. Secret weapon. Cassie Lawson. For now, she corrected, surprising herself with acceptance of the borrowed surname's power. He offered his hand. She shook it. Formal. Electricity again. Stronger. As they brainstormed, Rosa hovered unseen in the hall, listening. She whispered to herself, Lioness learned to hunt. At sunrise, they collapsed on library couches. Strategy charted. Project Open Vow. A 12-episode video diary launching in 48 hours. Tech crew would set up. Cassie would write scripts. Alec would code a bespoke donation widget for Parkinson's research, humanizing him, anchoring her compassion. Exhausted, Cassie dozed. She woke to a blanket draped over her and Alec asleep on the opposite couch, mouth parted, glasses askew, a boyish vulnerability that tugged at her chest. She rose quietly, realizing Rosa stood at the door. He's not the enemy, Cassie whispered. Rosa's gaze softened. Perhaps he's the ally you need to defeat larger foes. Cassie nodded, brushing hair from her eyes. The war just changed. Rosa smiled, pride shining. Then so will our tactics. The morning after Project Open Vow planning, Cassie woke to a pounding on her door. Rosa burst in, apron smudged with flour and fury sparking in her eyes. Kitchen, now. Cassie threw on slippers, following the scent of burnt sugar down to the culinary wing. Smoke coiled near the ceiling, extractor fans roared. Chef Mayowa knelt beside a toppled saucepan, cursing in Yoruba. A charred mass of cinnamon roll dozed across stainless steel like melted tar. In the corner, Talia pressed a damp cloth to her forearm, crocodile tears glimmering. I slipped. The pan flew. Chef Mayowa huffed. You brandished it like javelin. Oven mitts on this hand, bane on that. How does that happen? Talia's gaze flicked to Cassie, a hiss disguised as a plea. Cassie surveyed the blast zone, sticky glaze-splattered cabinets, scotch mark on induction plate. They'd baked here yesterday with no mishap. Today, on the eve of their video diary launch, sabotage seemed too neat. House cameras, she asked. Chef Mayowa pointed at a dark lens in a corner. Offline since dawn. Power glitch. Rosa crossed her arms. Glitch or hand of a snake? Talia's lip quivered. You accuse. I absolve. Rosa pivoted to Cassie. Your call. Cassie steadied her breath. Control narrative, lioness. Talia, you need medical attention. Mr. Diallo will drive you to clinic. She signaled the butler, who appeared with uncanny timing. Talia's eyes widened. Hospital meant a report, proof of injury, or lack. She opened her mouth, shut it, and allowed herself to be escorted out, clutching her act like a frayed shawl. As fans cleared smoke, Cassie faced Chef Mayowa. Can we salvage anything? He lifted his chin. Blender survived. He scooped unburnt batter into a bowl. Cinnamon roll smoothies. Cassie laughed. First genuine sound since sunrise gloom. Breakfast of rebels. After cleanup, Cassie and Rosa retreated to Rosa's quarters, a modest suite scented with lavender and lined with decades of photographs, Rosa's late husband in naval uniform, baby Cassie gnawing a rattle, adolescent Cassie winning a coding trophy. Rosa produced a sewing kit. Busy hands sharpen quiet minds. She passed Cassie a strip of Ankara fabric. Stitch. Cassie threaded needle, brow furrowed. Weave a digital war, and you hand me cloth. Every war is fought first in nerves. Rosa's needle flashed. Stitching trains patience, eyes, fingers, same muscles you'll use on camera tonight. Cassie exhaled, working the fabric. The rhythmic pierce pull calmed her racing thoughts. Talia's playing a long game. We need proof before we expose her. Proof is luxury. Rosa knotted thread, but eyes open wider. We'll catch her tail. They finished 2 Ankara napkins. Rosa held them up, vibrant gold on indigo, edges neat. Small victories weave into large banners, she said. Cassie smiled. Banner starts with 2 napkins. Alec texted an hour later. Cameras in kitchen intentionally severed. Meet me in server room. Cassie followed LED floor lights to the mansion's basement hub. Racks of humming hardware. Cables ordered like metro maps. Cooling fans hissed white noise. Alec crouched before a cabinet, examining a fiber optic line snipped clean. He looked up. Knife stroke, angled, deliberate. Last log shows door entry at 4:13 a.m. badge was Talia's. Cassie's pulse quickened. She's sabotaging us. Or someone paid her. Alec replaced the line with a spare. Ceiling panel. Board factions. Paparazzi. Your family. My family cut me off, Cassie muttered. Mine trade secrets for dividends. Alec wiped grease on a rag. Either way, she's compromised. I'll terminate and escort her out. Cassie hesitated. If we fire her, she sells her story. Headlines shift from forced marriage to toxic mansion. Danger to staff. Sec loves drama. Alec groaned. You suggest we keep her. Not keep. Manage. We stop her leaks by saturation. We give the public another story so big nobody cares about her crumbs. Alec straightened, intrigued. You thinking of dropping the video diaries early? Live tonight. Cass's eyes gleamed. Raw, unfiltered. Out honest every rumor before it hatches. Alec considered, then nodded. Risky. Let's risk it. By dusk, a skeletal film crew from Lawson Studios rigged the library. 2 6K cameras, soft boxes, lav mics. Cassie wore the Ankara-trimmed sundress, napkin fabric stitched into a belt by Rosa's steady hand. Alec donned an open-color linen shirt, sleeves folded. They rehearsed bullet points, how they met, truth, why the wedding was swift, half-truth, family health emergency, what they hoped to build, a partnership of purpose. Cassie insisted they end with a joint call to donate toward Parkinson's research. Red light blinked, live. Alec opened. Good evening, everybody. I'm Alec Lawson. Yes, that Alec Lawson. And this is my partner, Cassie. Cassie picked up seamlessly. We're coming to you from our library. Not a TV set, no teleprompter, because we'd rather speak messy truth than polished rumor. She shared a condensed version of her parents' deal, withheld names, emphasized autonomy. We chose to stay in this arrangement because sometimes responsibility weighs heavier than comfort. But we also choose to build authenticity together. Alec pivoted to his mother's illness, voice wavering. This is personal. I can save my company and still sleep at night only if I shine light on what matters. Research, dignity, hope. They pulled out their anchor napkins, unfolding them side by side. Cassie explained the stitching as a metaphor. Small threads, tight bonds. Finally, Alec keyed a widget overlay, his own code, showing live donations. Within 60 seconds, the counter ticked past 50 million Nigerian nairas. Comments scrolled faster than I could follow. I'm crying. Protect this couple at all costs. Take my money. They signed off with a promise of weekly episodes. Judge us not by fairy tale but by chapters we write. Streams ended. Silence shivered in the library. Then crew erupted in applause. Alec exhaled shakily and pulled Cassie into a spontaneous hug. She stiffened, then melted, allowing 3 heartbeats before stepping back. Heat blossomed across her cheeks. That felt good, he said. Feels dangerous, she whispered, meaning the flutter in her chest. Camera B operator grinned. Danger looks lucrative. 20 minutes later, #OpenVow trended #1 globally. News anchors replayed clips, influencers recorded reaction videos. Sec chatter cooled, public goodwill buffering stock price and after-hours trading. But not everyone clapped. Talia, returned from clinic with a bandaged and burnt arm, watched the live stream on her phone from the servants' break room. She scrolled comments, jaw tight, then typed a message to a contact saved as Black Rook. Plan A failed. They doubled popularity. Need new angle. Black Rook replied, focus on the nanny. She's the linchpin. Talia glanced toward hallway where Rosa supervised linen inventory. A predatory smile curved her lips. Cassie couldn't sleep. Adrenaline still surged. She roamed the dark corridor and heard rustling in Rosa's room. Light shone under the door at 1 a.m. She tapped. No answer. She pushed gently. Rosa sat at her desk, lamp on, scrapbooks open. But her expression, vacant. Tears streamed silently as she held a pink envelope. A letter. Cassie hurried forward. Rosa. Rosa blinked, focusing. She folded the letter away. Old memories, child. Go rest. Cassie spotted the postmark, Port Harcourt, and today's date. Who wrote? Rosa sighed. Someone claiming your parents dismissed my pension. Bank alert says 0 balance. Cassie's stomach dropped. They're punishing you for staying with me. I'm tough, Rosa said, wiping eyes. Money is paper. No, Cassie growled. They drew blood. She took Rosa's hand. We fight back bigger. Bigger means claws, Rosa warned. Then sharpen mine. Cassie's gaze hardened. Tomorrow we roar. Launch day dawned glistening after rainfall. The donation tracker passed 120 million Nigerian nairas before breakfast. Newsfeeds hailed #OpenVow as business transparency revolution. But inside, Cassie's outrage over Rosa's cut pension simmered. Alec breezed into the breakfast atrium, tablet in hand. We smashed every KPI. Board emergency meeting moved. We're secure for 60 days. Cassie poured coffee, voice icy. Celebrations can wait. My nanny's pension vanished overnight. My parents' retaliation. Alec stilled. They touched Rosa. Froze it. I need legal options. He rubbed his chin. It might violate employment benefit statutes. Lawson Legal will file injunctive relief. He met her eyes. We protect our people. Heat subsided in her chest, replaced by gratitude. Thank you. But Feist, he added, come to headquarters. The board must see you, respect you, to silence any coup. My driver leaves in 30. Cassie's stomach fluttered. Board sharks. I'm in piranha mood. That's the spirit, he said, grinning. Lawson Global HQ speared Lagos skyline, a 40-story prism of blue glass. In daylight the facade reflected clouds. At night, lead strips traced binary code across the surface. Cassie's heels clicked on marble as they crossed a lobby buzzed with drones delivering espresso. Employees turned, whispering, she's here. Giant screens replayed #OpenVow highlights, captions subtitled for the hearing impaired. An inclusion initiative Cassie silently applauded. Elevator 1 rocketed to the top. Alec adjusted his cuffs. Board loves power plays. Speak plainly, never apologize for passion. Copy. Doors opened into a cedar-paneled conference room. 12 directors sat at a crescent table. A retired general, a fintech pioneer, 3 venture capital power brokers, and, unexpected, Mema Lawson herself, Silverhead, cane by her side, warm smile belying Parkinson's tremor. Alec greeted everyone. Cassie felt a hush when he introduced her. Mimi Lawson rose painfully, extended hand. Cassie clasped it gently. "Daughter," Mimi Lawson said, voice soft but lucid. "Welcome." Cassie's throat thickened. "Daughter," a word her own mother now weaponized. They took seats. Chairman Eichen cleared his throat. "Mr. Lawson, shareholder confidence rose 12% overnight. Well done. But regulatory pressure persists. How do you plan sustained momentum?" Alec tapped his watch. Lights dimmed. Holographic slides unfurled, projected from ceiling micro-emitters. Cassie marveled. He presented a phased expansion, charitable transparency, decentralized data ownership platform, AI-driven supply chain. Midway, Director Huang interrupted. "Public sentiment is fickle. Suppose your wife initiates divorce, optics shatter." All eyes drilled into Cassie. She rose, heart pounding, titrating adrenaline into composure. "With respect, Director," she said, "optic fragility stems from secrecy. Open vow is a living audit. If our marriage dissolves, the audience will witness our process of accountability, not scandal. Lawson Global redefines corporate narrative as human narrative. Messy, iterative, true. Investors won't flee, they'll relate." Silence fell like velvet. General Outgun chuckled. "She's got backbone." Chairman Eichen smiled thinly. "Marketing copy aside, can you quantify?" Cassie walked to the hologram console, fingers flying. She pulled live metrics, positive sentiment graphs, donation velocity, new user sign-ups to Lawson Cloud, triggered by widget outreach. "Emotional IOI," she said, "translates to user trust, which you can monetize via lifetime value upticks. Early data," she pointed, "shows a 28% bump since midnight." Murmurs of approval. Mimi Lawson clapped slowly, pride glowing. Cassie sat, pulse racing. Vote was swift. Board reaffirmed Alec's leadership, unlocked interim dividends for Parkinson's fund, approved Cassie a non-voting advisory seat. Her compensation routed partly to re-establish Rosa's pension at triple prior value. As signatures dried, Alec leaned toward Cassie. "You just outpitched millionaires." She shrugged, breathless grin spreading. "Debate club pays." Mimi Lawson beckoned. Cassie knelt beside her chair. "My son's algorithms choose many things," Mimi Lawson whispered, voice trembling. "But compassion he must learn. Teach him." Cassie's eyes stung. "I'm learning too." A gentle squeeze, then Mimi Lawson's aide escorted her out for therapy session. After the board adjourned, Alec guided Cassie to a private lounge overlooking Lagos Lagoon. Glass walls tinted photochromic blue. Inner panels displayed interactive art. He poured kombucha, settled on a sofa. "I owe you." "You owe Rosa," she corrected. "Legal's on it." He studied her. "How did you pull metrics mid-air?" "I built a dashboard last night," she admitted sheepishly. "Hooked to social listening APIs." His jaw dropped. "You coded at 3 a.m. Couldn't sleep." A laugh erupted. Partner in crime indeed. He gestured at a sculpture of steel gears on the coffee table. "Do you know how I started? 6-year-old with a junk box, old radios, screws. I built a robot that only moved in circles." He spun a gear. "Father scolded me for inefficiency. Mother laughed and called it orbiting curiosity." Cassie toyed with another gear. "So you kept orbiting." "Until loneliness became black hole." His gaze darkened. "Coding felt safer than people. Then you." He stopped, swallowed. "You crashed into my orbit." Heat flushed Cassie's cheeks. She set down the gear. "I'm no astronaut." "You're a supernova," he murmured. Silence stretched, alive, charged. Then his phone buzzed, legal requesting signature on Rosa's injunction. Connection broke. He rose. "Dinner tonight?" "Just us?" he asked. "Sounds nice." He departed, leaving Cassie gazing over water where sailboats caught sunset like emberlit kites. Evening draped the mansion in copper light. Fresh security protocols denied staff quarters near main dining room, Cassie's suggestion, to ensure privacy. Talia watched from shadowed hallway, bitterness coiling. In the chefless kitchen, Cassie rolled dough for tagliatelle. Alec diced tomatoes, strokes precise as code. Jazz crackled from a retro record player he unearthed. Flour dusted Cassie's nose. Alec reached to wipe it away, fingers lingering. Sparks. They ate on the balcony. Pasta toast with shrimp, basil from Rosa's garden, chilled rosé. Waves slapped basalt cliffs below. Conversation flowed. Favorite childhood books, teenage embarrassments, doubts. Alec confessed he stuttered until age 12. Cassie admitted she once hacked her prep school's cafeteria system to remove beef because a pet cow had died. Laughter crested. Night air cooled. Alec's gaze softened. Cassie. But a ping erupted. Her phone. Unknown number. Photo of Rosa leaving Lawson HQ earlier. A red target reticle over her chest. Text. Lioness bleeds next. Fear slammed her heart. Alec leaned over. His face hardened. Who sent? Unknown. Threat. He sprang into action, calling security chief. Tracing number. Cassie gripped balcony rail, breath shaky. Protective fire igniting. Talia. Black Rook. Alec squeezed her shoulder. We'll keep Rosa safe. I promise. She nodded, but dread gnawed. Security doubled. Rosa relocated to a suite closer to theirs. Cameras scanned 360-degree arcs, sensors armed. Cassie tried to sleep, but nightmares swarmed. Rosa gasping, blood on anchor fabric. She jolted awake at 2 a.m., padded to kitchen for water. There she found Alec, hunched at island, scrolling threat profile database. He looked up, weary. No hit yet. Number was routed through 5 dummy sims. Last ping from Victoria Island. Cassie sat beside him. Every time I win a step, they push back twice. Then we push again, he said, eyes blazing. You're not alone in this orbit anymore. Tears welled. She buried face in hands. He wrapped arms around her. They stayed like that. World quiet except ocean breath beyond glass. When she finally lifted her head, their faces inches apart. He cupped her cheek, thumb brushing away tear. Cassie's breath hitched, but she didn't pull back. Slowly, Alec leaned in. Pause. Question hanging. Cassie closed the gap, pressing lips to his. Gentle. Testing. Fireworks. Soft. Warm. Dazzling. But she drew away first, heart hammering. We still have secrets, she whispered. Fewer each day, he replied, voice rough. She stood. Stay alive, Alec Lawson. I need you for war. He saluted playfully. Yes, General Adeyemi. She almost smiled, turned, and slipped back to her suite, fingertips touching her lips, mind racing with equal parts fear and budding, perilous hope. Dawn broke like spilled grapefruit over the Atlantic, but neither Cassie nor Alec tasted its sweetness. They spent the early hours locked with Lawson security in a situation room trance, maps glowing, threat vectors pulsing, Rosa dozing upright while a bodyguard stood sentinel at her door. By 10 a.m. the number that had targeted Rosa was confirmed a burner routed through an offshore SIM bank. Whoever Blackrook was, they were good, better than most hacktivist collectives Alec had tangled with. Cassie paced the war room carpet thin, fury gnawing her ribs. I'll lure them out, she declared, arms folded like a general. Alec looked up from a terminal. By doing what? Putting a bullseye on your back. Better mind than Rosa's. Rosa, perched beside a Kevlar briefcase of her belongings, clicked her tongue. Self-sacrifice can be vanity in disguise, child. The debate only ended when Mema Lawson called, voice shaky yet resolute. Children, remember, paranoia builds walls, purpose builds watchtowers. See further. Don't merely defend your keep, outthink your enemy. The call settled like incense in Cass's mind. She exhaled. Outthink, not outbleed. Perhaps there was a smarter gambit than bait. After lunch Alec retreated to his home office to harden network perimeters. Cassie joined him, coffee in hand, determined to learn instead of fret. He walked her through packet sniffers, anomaly graphs, an AI honeypot named Cerberus that lured intruders then mirrored junk data back. Hours passed in a hum of keys and quiet conversation, technical at first, then drifting toward childhood stories. Cassie confessed she used to write fan fiction about warrior queens in sci-fi Lagos. Alec shared that he spent middle school weekends soldering drones because he feared actual friends. At 4 p.m. lightning cracked over the Gulf, power flickered. UPS backups kicked in, but the sudden darkness startled them. Alec steadied Cassie by the elbows, their faces inches apart. monitors casting cobalt glows across cheekbones. The power returned, but neither moved. "I keep waiting to wake up," Cassie whispered. 5 weeks ago I was planning dorm life and cramming for orientation. Now I'm defending a mansion with a man I've kissed once. Alex's fingers flexed, just shy of cupping her waist. "I'm still waiting to breathe properly when you're this close." Cassie's pulse throbbed deliciously. She tipped her chin and almost kissed him. Almost. Instead she stepped back, spine against a bookshelf. "Too fast," she said. "I promised myself no decisions while adrenaline runs the show." Alec nodded, jaw taut. "I respect your pace." He turned to the keyboard, but the air between them quivered with unsaid longing. Cassie fled to her balcony, letting rain needle her skin until desire cooled to a simmer she could think through. During dinner prep, Chef Mayowa announced Talia had handed in a resignation letter. Claims family emergency in Benin City. Wants severance and a letter of reference. Cass's eyes narrowed. She's running because sabotage failed, or she's planting something before she goes. Alec ordered a full sweep, bag scanned, phone cloned, quarters searched. Agents found nothing, until Rosa, ever the bloodhound, noticed a sewing kit needle taped beneath Talia's dresser. Its eye threaded with transparent microfilament attached to a rice grain camera. The feed would have funneled to Blackrook. Talia was delivered to the foyer in silent handcuffs. Cassie faced her. No triumph, only weary disappointment. "You could have worked with us," Cassie said. Talia spat at Cassie's shoes. "I don't fetch scraps from a table I plan to own." Alec's security passed her to police custody with footage and fiber evidence. Yet Cassie could read the calculation in Talia's eyes. "I'm only a pawn. The board keeps moving." When the door slammed, Rosa murmured, "Snake beheaded, but eggs remain." None slept easily that night. The mansion felt hollow without immediate menace. Every footstep echoed more loudly. To dispel tension, Alec proposed a rare outing, just the two of them and Rosa. No cameras, no bored chaperones. They drove an hour up the coast to Bell's Grove, a hidden botanical dome funded by Lawson Foundation but never open to the public. Inside, fractal glass panes trapped humidity and birdsong. Orchids drooped like watercolor flames. Koi rippled under lily pads. Rosa wandered the medicinal herb wing, collecting samples for teas. Cassie and Alec drifted to a skywalk suspended 15 meters high. Mist rose from ferns below, cloaking them in a hush broken only by distant waterfall pumps. Alec rested forearms on the rail. "We could stay here forever and nobody would bother us." Cassie leaned beside him. "Problem is, the world wouldn't improve out there." He turned, eyes soft. "You burn bright, Cassie. I feared you despise me forever. Instead you keep outflanking destiny." She swallowed, admitting, "Because you listen. My parents never asked what I wanted. You always ask." He lifted a tentative hand, brushed a stray curl behind her. The touch was light, tentative, but shot through her limbs like sunrise. She didn't pull away this time. Instead she turned her face into his palm, closing her eyes. Their lips met, slow, explorative, rain moss sweet. Time loosened, the dome's humid hush amplifying heartbeat thunder. His fingers threaded hers. Her free hand traced the line of his neck. The kiss deepened. Then Cass's spine tingled with the memory of threats, drones, reputations. She broke the kiss, breath ragged. "I'm scared of needing you," she confessed. Alec's forehead rested against hers. Need isn't weakness if it flows both ways. A speaker crackled overhead, Rosa's voice, teasing. "Come down, lovebirds. My tea's ready and the guard shift changes." They descended, cheeks flushed but eyes clay. Cassie realized the kiss hadn't muddled her. It had anchored her to possibility. Yet fear of dependence still crouched in her chest like a coiled cat. Back at the mansion, they drafted a new pledge on Alec's encrypted tablet. Full intel sharing, no withheld communications, even if grim. Weekly breather date outside mansion security bubble. Rosa chaperoning if needed. 6-month exit clause unchanged, but optional. To be revisited only when both felt safe. They signed with stylus, digital thumbprints glowing violet as blockchain sealed the contract. Rosa, witnessing, raised a brow. "At this rate, lawyers will study your marriage in textbooks." "Then let them," Cassie said. "We'll footnote resilience." As night swelled outside picture windows, Lightning strobed distant clouds, but inside the trio shared Rosa's restorative tea. Hibiscus, ginger, a dash of basil for clarity, believing, for one stolen evening, that storms could be sipped away. In her suite later, Cassie replayed the kiss, heart and mind in delicate detent. She didn't notice the small, cream-colored envelope slipped beneath her door, bearing her name in precise calligraphy. Cassandra. Cassie slept through dawn, jolted awake by gull cries and the faint smell of croissants. The cream envelope sat on her nightstand where she'd placed it unopened, unsure if it was a lover's note or another threat. She showered, braided her hair, then finally slit the flap with a nail. Inside lay a handwritten letter, 2 pages, and a folded newspaper clipping. The handwriting was Alex, even lines, no flourish. I found this article the night before our wedding. It reminded me that statistics don't breath, people do. I wanted to share it, but everything happened too fast. If today ever feels heavy, read this and remember you are not alone in the physics of hope. The clipping was from a Science Digest, Why Two Orbiting Bodies Can Stabilize Each Other, The Dance of Binary Stars. Cass's throat tightened. Alec had called her a supernova. Now he compared them to binary stars, gravitational anchors rather than prisons. She tucked the letter into her pocket like a charm and headed downstairs. The mansion buzzed, yet Alec was nowhere. Chef Mayowa said the CEO had left at 5 a.m. for an emergency data center audit in Ikeja. Of course he did. Crisis after crisis. His life was a constellation of dashes. Cassie ate breakfast alone beside a waterfall wall, the seat across from her painfully empty. Luxury amplified solitude. Every gilded edge screamed that comfort without connection was just padded exile. She resolved not to brood. Rosa needed errands for herbal salves. Cassie volunteered to drive. Security insisted on tail vehicles, but she took the wheel of the vintage VW Beetle, sunshine yellow, feeling its manual gears give tactile purpose to her morning. In the city, they bought plantain chips from street vendors, laughed with women braiding hair curbside, haggled over dried hibiscus. With each stop, Cass's Lagos heart rebooted. She remembered who she'd been before boardrooms and drones. Yet even amid market noise, she checked her phone waiting for Alex's "I'm safe" text. None came. Returning at dusk, Cassie was greeted by Mr. Diallo, visibly jittery. "Madam, Mr. Lawson rings. He's delayed. Server firmware bug. He says dine without him." Cassie masked disappointment, waving thanks. She headed to the kitchen, set up Rosa's herbs to dry, then did something she hadn't attempted since high school. She baked. YouTube propped on the island, she followed a video for orange cardamom bread, kneading dough to vent longing. The scent of citrus filled vaulted ceilings. Outside storm clouds bunched, wind rattled casement panes. Still no coal. 9:30. She left the loaf cooling under linen cloth, wrote a sticky note, "Fuel for space voyages," and placed it beside the bread. Then she padded to the library, intending to read herself calm. Rain hammered roof glass. Hours slid. Midnight chimed from grandfather clock. Cass's eyes blurred over text. She debated calling, but pride held the line. "He knows the way home." She muttered, "Binary stars don't chase, they attract." At 1:07 a.m. Cassie heard the garage door hush shut. She stayed curled in the library alcove, listening to Alex's footsteps cross the foyer tiles, then pause in the kitchen. She pictured him seeing the bread, the note. Minutes later, footsteps approached. She pretended to peruse dust and honeysuckle. Alec appeared, hair damp, suit jacket slung over shoulder, exhaustion dark under his eyes, but a gentle smile blooming. Without speaking, he set an ivory envelope on the low table between them, identical to the one she'd received. Inside, she soon discovered, lay proof, scanned contract addenda showing he'd petitioned his father's lawyers 3 times to revoke the forced marriage clause, latest dated 2 days before the wedding. Each petition stamped denied, trust terms immutable. A post-it bore 4 words, "Stayed because of you." Her chest tightened, book slipped from her lap. She looked up, Alex's gaze shimmered vulnerable as lake water. He sank onto the opposite couch. "I read your note," he said quietly. "Cardamom tastes like sunrise after tonight's mess." Firmware bug. Part real, part cover. I met and sec liaison off record. They implied someone is feeding regulators stories about insider trading tied to our wedding. I had to shut it down personally. He rubbed temples. Cassie moved to the ottoman between them, took his wrists, gently lowered his hands. For a long moment neither spoke. Rain softened to a whisper. "I thought you'd ghosted me," she admitted. He shook his head. "Binary stars, remember? Orbit may widen but gravity stays constant." The metaphor melted her defenses. She rose, crossed to the kitchenette alcove, returned with 2 mugs of Rosa's hibiscus ginger tea. They sipped in companionable silence until Alex had found his, fingers looping like threads in anchor cloth. Cassie tightened the grip. "I still fear this is too much too fast," she said, voice shaky. "Then we move slow," he vowed. "But don't doubt my vector." She laughed softly. "Only you flirt with astrophysics." He curved a smile, exhaustion easing. "Engine ease, Cass." Their joined hands rested atop the envelope, their past clang and future hush folded into parchment. The library lamp cast golden aura, as if granting benediction. They parted at 2 a.m. No kiss, just a forehead touch that vibrated deeper than touch. Cassie returned to her sweet lighter, though her body ached with wanting. She slept dreamlessly for the first time in weeks, until her phone jolted her awake at 7 a.m. trending now. #Breadgate. Pap pics of Alec exiting a consultancy at 11 p.m., clutching 4-wrap cardamom loaf. Comment speculated whether he was love-starved or stress-eating carbs to soothe secret marriage rift. Even bread wasn't safe from gossip mills. Cassie wanted to howl laughter, but jaws of anxiety clamped. Outthink, not outbleed, she reminded herself. Maybe the world's noise could be repurposed. She drafted a sassy tweet from their joint open vow account. "When your partner won't let you skip dinner, they bake you midnight carbs." #Breadgate approved. Recipe dropping soon. Alec retweeted within minutes, adding, "Gravity tastes like cardamom." The internet swooned. Influencers challenged partners to #Gravitaloaf bake-offs. Charity donations spiked another 15 million Nigerian nairas by noon. Yet Black Rook watched from digital shadows, fingers steepled. They typed, "Gravity is predictable. Push hard enough and even stars collapse." The next week blurred into separate orbits. Alec, drowning in compliance meetings, left at dawn, returned after midnight. Cassie, filming #OpenVow episodes, fielding press calls, steering Rosa's pension case, rarely saw him except in passing. She discovered that opulence without companionship was colder than poverty with purpose. The mansion's infinity pool mirrored only clouds. The grand piano echoed emptiness when she practiced chords. Staff spoke respectfully but not warmly, fearful of overstepping. Cassie texted Alec daily updates. Replies came brief and delayed. She told herself partnership was intact, but unspoken worry salted her days. What if gravity weakened? What if exhaustion snapped him like a cable? What if enemies used their distance to pry? A Friday evening storm throttled Lagos traffic. Cassie decided to shorten the gap herself. She recreated a family recipe, afang soup with a twist, oyster mushrooms for earthiness, lobster for luxe, and habanero heat Alex secretly loved. She set the mahogany kitchen island like a bistro, single candle, playlist of soft Afrojazz, bowls warming under lids. 10:30, headlights swept the drive, midnight blue roadster parked. Alec entered, drenched, tire skew, scrolling phone. He looked up, startled. "Smells incredible." Cassie smiled, nerves buzzing. "Taste and tell. If awful, I blame YouTube, not Ethic Heritage." They ate, silence filled only by rain percussion. After a few spoons, Alec's shoulders unknotted, color returned to his cheeks. "Better than any chef in this building," he declared. Flattery accepted as tip. He reached across, lacing fingers with hairs, the gesture now familiar yet thrilling. But lightning cracked, power blinked. Backup lights glowed dim amber. Cassie squeezed his hand against surge of unease. "Isolation's tougher than paparazzi," she admitted. "House feels haunted when you're gone." Alec's thumb stroked her knuckles. "We're trapped in crisis mode. I'll recalibrate. Starting tomorrow, half day off. Library, tea, 0 devices." Cassie tipped an imaginary hat. "See you at high noon then, Mr. Lawson." They finished soup, laughter flowing again. Yet as they loaded dishes into the washer, Alec's phone pinged. A single line from his COO, regulators raided data center, confiscated nodes. His face blanched. Cassie felt the temperature plummet. Crisis had breached the gate once more. He opened his mouth. Apology or explanation? but she pressed 2 fingers to his lips. "Go," she said. "But come back. Don't let them cage your heart." "I'll sprint," he promised, kissing her fingertips before bolting. Cassie hunted for sleep but found it barricaded behind worry. She perched at the library window, watching lightning spiderweb the gulf, thinking of binary stars sliding into eclipse when tidal forces go rogue. She whispered into the glass, "Hold on, gravity." As if in answer, her phone buzzed, a voice message from Alec. "Counting hours till high noon. Gravity stable. Locking orbit." She exhaled, forehead against cool pain, willing the mansion's vast rooms to shrink around that promise, turning isolation into anticipation. Yet down in the servants' annex, recently reopened because Rosa insisted staff deserved normalcy, Mr. Diallo found Talia's vacated locker pried open, contents rifled. A single chess piece sat on the shelf, a black rook. Security alerted Cassie at 2 a.m. She stared at the image, icy dread coiling anew. The snake had eggs indeed. Lightning still scratched the horizon when Cassie hurried to the security suite. On the wall-mounted monitor, a guard replayed the camera feed. Mr. Diallo discovering Talia's locker ajar, the single chess piece gleaming like onyx under the fluorescent light. Cassie's mind spun. "Black Rook isn't finished," she murmured. The chief of security, Adi Zig, a stoic ex-Interpol analyst, folded her arms. "The symbol suggests positional play. Rooks move straight, no diagonal surprises. Whoever is behind this prefers direct collisions." A shiver coursed down Cass's spine. Direct collisions meant someone would strike the heart of the Lawson estate, not from the shadows but head-on. At dawn, Alec called from the seized data center. Regulators had carted off 6 blade racks under a sealed warrant alleging that Lawson OS used proprietary encryption stolen from a military contractor, an accusation Cassie knew had no merit. But proof takes time. Panic feeds fast. "We can't live-stream our way out of confiscated servers," Alec said, weariness shredding his voice across the line. "We can spotlight who filed the tip," Cassie replied. "Force them into daylight." Adiz traced warrant origins to a shell law firm funded by Arclight Partners, a venture group chaired by none other than Director Huang, the board member who had grilled Cassie. A rook straight down the file. Cass's pulse hammered. Board coup, and Talia was their mole. Mima Lawson arrived before noon, cane-tapping marble, jaws set in iron conviction. She insisted on meeting Cassie privately in the upstairs solarium. "My late husband played chess daily," Mima Lawson said, sinking into a rattan chair. Tremor in her hand steadied once she clasped Cass's. "He taught Alec and me that a rook is powerful only with open lanes. Close the lanes, child." Cassie caught the glint in the older woman's eyes. Part sadness, part strategy. "You willing to oppose your own board?" Arclight Partners sold Lawson bonds short this morning. She passed Cassie an embossed envelope. Inside are the proxy vote logs Huang circulated. They prove intent to crash the share price. Cassie opened it, digital prints, board emails, and a voice memo transcript. The envelope, held the gunpowder they needed. Alec returned mid-afternoon, dusty and furious, but his energy reignited when Cassie and Mima Lawson laid the evidence across the library table. "We go public," Alec said. "The board will sue," Mima Lawson warned. "Let them," Cassie countered. "Truth disinfects." They drafted a special Open Vow episode to stream that night. Checkmate. Adiz summoned her CyberOps unit to guard every outbound feed. Cerberus, the AI honeypot, ran decoys so Black Rook could neither jam nor spoof the stream. Hours before showtime, Cass's phone pinged, her father's number. She hesitated, then answered. Papa's voice shook. "Cassandra, what have they started?" In the background, Cassie heard medical monitors. He was in a hospital bed. "Your business partners are destroying Alec's company and my life," she said. "I never agreed to that." Papa coughed. "Your mother sold the farm," Cassie finished. "Tell me you'll testify." Silence. "Yes," Papa whispered at last. "Send papers." Tears blurred Cass's sight. The farm, that is, her heart, tilted toward reconciliation, but war first. At 9 p.m. sharp, the live counter began. Instead of the cozy library set, the camera framed a stacked chessboard on a white marble table. Cassie sat on one side wearing an ebony blazer, Alec opposite in ivory linen. The board held only two pieces, a white queen and a black rook. Cassie opened. Tonight's episode is different. You watched us share love and Fae. Now you'll watch us share evidence. Alec placed a folder beside the rook. These documents prove a small group tried to crash Lawson Global for profit, risking patient data, employee pensions, and public trust. Slides appeared, Huang's emails, Talia's payments from an ArcLight subsidiary, the short sale chart. Cassie read a sworn statement, Puppers, delivered digitally minutes earlier, verifying that Huang had caught it at Yemi Capital with lucrative side deals if the marriage failed. She didn't fail, Cassie declared, looking squarely at the lens. We didn't fail. The only failure here is greed. Then she lifted the black rook, turned it slowly. A rook's power ends when the board ends. She set it on its side, checkmated. Alec cued a blockchain ledger on screen. Every donation you've given remains intact and transparent. He swept the white queen forward. And the queen protects the realm. The feed ended. Within 30 seconds as checkmate soared, Huang's name trended with fire emojis. Regulators switched targets. ArcLight stock imploded 27% overnight. The SEC, embarrassed, returned Lawson's servers under heavy apology. Huang's counsel announced medical leave. Talia, from detention, attempted a countersuit but lacked any funds when ArcLight accounts were frozen. Her 30-minute primetime interview was cancelled mid-segment. Cassie exhaled relief only when Adiz confirmed BlackRook's darknet node had gone dark. No pings for 12 hours. The lanes were finally closed. But Victory felt oddly quiet, a ringing silence after artillery. 2 days later, Papa signed an affidavit that insulated Rosa's pension under new Nigerian whistleblower protections. He left a voice message, thin but hopeful. Proud of you, Kai baby. Come visit once the storms settle. Mimai Adeyemi, however, issued a brief press release acknowledging regretful misunderstandings. No apology. Cassie accepted she might never receive one. Some stars drift out of orbit forever. Rosa hugged Cassie in the courtyard. Not all mothers bite. Some bloom around you later. Cassie wept into Ankara-scented linen. With lawsuits filed and board vacated, Alec offered Cassie her 6-month exit early, papers ready. Freedom means choice, he reminded her, envelope trembling in his hand. Cassie stared at the unsigned pages. For a heartbeat she felt 18 again. Corset biting, cathedral bells. Then she remembered binary stars, cardamom bread, and the feel of his heartbeat under rain-damp linen. I choose, she whispered, tearing the exit clause in half. To stay. On one condition. Anything. We rewrite the contract as partners, not prisoners. He slipped the ruined pages into a metal wastebasket and struck a match. Flames curled upward, devouring ink. They watched until only ash remained. No more chains on paper. Partners, Alec echoed, brushing soot from her cheek. 1 month later, Lagos woke to Harmattan haze and cautious optimism. Lawson Global's share price had rebounded. Parkinson's research funding topped 500 million Nigerian nairas. OpenVow evolved into a weekly social impact think tank hosted by Cassie and Alec with rotating experts. Yet they had unfinished business, a vow promised among white roses. Cassie and Rosa transformed the once ornamental rose garden into a community greenhouse. White roses still climbed arbors, but between them sprouted tomatoes, moringa, and medicinal herbs. On a warm Saturday morning, employees, neighbors, and beneficiaries of the Parkinson's Foundation gathered for an inaugural harvest. Alec, in rolled-up sleeves, distributed seedlings to schoolchildren. Cassie taught teenagers to code environmental sensors. Laughter flowed like creek water, drowning the memory of drones and paparazzi. As sun peaked, Rosa rang a brass bell. Clear the path, she called. The crowd parted, revealing Mima Lawson, frail but radiant, escorted by Papa Adeyemi, freshly discharged from cardiology, walking slowly yet proudly. Cass's breath hitched. Papa offered a tentative smile. She returned it full strength, forgiveness ripening like the tomatoes overhead. In the center of the garden stood a trellis woven with Ankara ribbons and circuit board motifs, Rosa and Adiz's collaborative handiwork. Under it, a small table held 2 items, Cass's tattered bouquet from the wedding, now dried and pressed in acrylic, and Alec's childhood robot, wheels still stuck in orbital circles. A hush settled. Cassie and Alec stepped beneath the trellis. The guests formed a wide ring, neither side bride nor groom but one semicircle, symbol of the binary orbit they'd chosen. Mema Lawson cleared her throat, voice rough with Parkinson's tremor yet clear enough to save. Tradition once forced vows upon them. Today they speak their own, witnessed by community not corporation. She nodded to Cassie first. Cassie took a breath, eyes shining. Alec Lawson, I was handed to you like a stock certificate, yet you saw a rebel, a reader, a lioness. You gave me a library, a firewall, and space to roar. I pledge curiosity louder than fear, collaboration stronger than pride, honesty even when it quakes my voice. I will challenge your algorithms and guard your heart. Together we will build futures where no girl is ever traded for shays again. Tears traced Pepper's cheeks, Rosa's shoulders shook with quiet sobs. Alec unfolded a card but slipped it into his pocket without reading, choosing eye contact instead. Cassandra Adeyemi Lawson. He paused as murmurs fluttered. The hyphen was new and intentional. You crashed into my orbit and reset my gravity. You taught me that transparency beats perfection, and that cardamom is a language. I promise bandwidth for your dreams, uptime for your safety, and patches for my own flaws. Where you dare, I will follow, or clear the path. Where I code, I will leave doors open for you to walk through first. Instead of gold, they exchanged silicon ceramic bands etched with binary code. 10110, the decimal 22. Their combined ages the day they tore up the annulment. Rosa slid the rings onto their fingers, her hands steady despite emotion. Cassie and Alec turned to the crowd. Rather than the classic kiss, Mema Lawson announced, let those who labor together break bread. Chef Mayowa emerged with a massive platter, a fusion of cinnamon roll dough swirled into enfant-flavored pinwheels, hash gravita loaf reborn. Cassie and Alec sliced it simultaneously, fed each other the first piece amid cheers. After the ceremony, Papa approached Cassie, nervous. I can't undo the sale of your freedom. Cassie squeezed his hand. But you bought back integrity with your testimony. I'll spend the rest of my life paying dividends of pride, he said, voice cracking. She embraced him. Overhead white rose petals drifted like soft snow. Mema Adeyemi watched from a distance, arms folded. Cassie met her gaze. No answer, just quiet boundaries. Mema turned away, stepping through a gate and into a waiting car. Some stars, Cassie thought, are red giants destined to collapse. You admire them from afar. Weeks later, Talia, facing prison time, accepted a leniency plea when she agreed to testify fully against Huang. Cassie visited the detention center, not for vengeance but closure. Why? Cassie asked across a plexiglass barrier. Talia's once slick poise crumbled. Because nobody ever picked me. I thought power would feel like love. It doesn't, Cassie said gently. A tear slipped down Talia's cheek. I know that now. Cassie left heaviness there, stepping into Lagos sunlight carrying only light to purpose. Life did not magically slow. Cassie enrolled in a part-time computer science program, her tuition funded by an Adeyemi trust she now co-managed with Papa. Strict transparency clauses included. Alec instituted a new charter, no major Lawson global decision without a public impact audit and a youth advisory board led by Cassie. OpenVow pivoted to Open Orbit, a social impact incubator live-streaming startups that merge tech and community farming. The inaugural grant, $50 million, went to Mema Lawson's Parkinson's Clinic to deploy AI-driven tremor diagnostics built by scholarship students. One evening months later, Cassie sat on the garden swing, dusk gilding white roses. Alec approached with 2 cups of ginger hibiscus tea. Server load balanced, hackers board stable, he listed. Greenhouse sensors hitting 99% uptime, she added. They clinked cups. Cassie leaned her head on his shoulder. Remember the cathedral? Only when thunder reminds me, he said. But this swing, this garden, this feels like chapter 1, not epilogue. She tilted her face up. Then let's write chapter 2. A world tour of community gardens. He grinned. Binary stars, road trip edition. They kissed, warm, unhurried, unapologetically theirs. Above them the night unveiled its canopy, and 2 bright points of light, perhaps binary 22 from the star charts that first brought that metaphor to life, seemed to gleam a little closer, locked in gentle, perpetual dance.
Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment your thoughts and share our channel with your friends. See you in the next story. From your favorite stories.